Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Full Dive.
I told you my joystick was being annoying.
Check.
The slightest of taps causes that. Okay.
All
And
right,
the song and blah, blah, blah.
Great start.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Full Dive Gaming Podcast, bringing a weekly dive of all the news, discussion, and condensed nerd talk you need for virtual reality gaming every Friday. I'm Rip McAfee, producer and editor of this podcast.
Did you just mispronounce your own name? I'm J-Rat, a virtual reality YouTuber.
What did I say?
You said Rip McAfee. You threw an R on the end.
I didn't even notice. Rip McAfee.
There we go. Destiny. Who are you?
I'm
tell
sorry,
us about
my
yourself.
ancestors. This is too much for Destiny.
Yeah, now she's getting all flustered. Look at her.
I think she's talking and it's not, there's nothing coming out.
Okay. I'm Destiny Wheeler, entrepreneur and VR enthusiast. Ooh, gotta catch my breath.
All right, and tonight, Adam couldn't make it, but instead we have a very special guest. Hey, it's Greg. Go ahead and tell us about yourself.
Hey, it's Greg. I like games, and I play them like a normal person, and I definitely don't try and ruin everyone's day. That'd be very wrong of me.
All right. So he's a VR YouTuber because apparently I shouldn't have trusted him to introduce himself. Greg here's a VR YouTuber, several thousand subs. We're really happy to have him here, and look forward to hearing his opinions on all the things we're talking about today. So for those that are listening in, just to let you know, you can actually watch us. We're sitting here in VR. We're interacting. We're together in a room. And if you want to see all this, head on over to our YouTube channel. I'm just adding to the ends of words today. Check out the YouTube channel if you want to see us and our lovely virtual reality faces. We run the podcast in 3 sections. First, a VR gaming news sectioned. Wow, I'm not on it. Not on it.
Falling apart tonight.
I am. Second, we'll be talking about our experiences. I haven't even I was thinking about grabbing a beer before this podcast, and I'm so glad I didn't do that.
That 5th beer would have made it much worse than it already is.
Yeah.
Right? 4 beers was just the right amount for where you're sitting right now.
We'll be talking about our experiences with some of the VR games to come out, and then for our third section, we'll be running a discussion that changes week to week. This week, we'll be talking about VR. What? Oh yeah, we'll be talking about VR beyond gaming. So that's what are the applications of VR beyond just having fun in games? And there's a lot there. We try to stick it usually to VR gaming specifically in this podcast, but we feel we sort of ought to touch on this as people who are trying to be at the forefront of VR. Last week we covered gosh darn it. Last week we covered what flat games we want in VR. Check out last week's podcast to hear all about it.
Oh my, I'm going to take over from here.
Yeah, please.
So we're going to move into the Q&A section. These questions come from our awesome Discord community. Get over there and join if you want to hear your questions answered on the podcast. The first one, Matt asks, did you ever think of VR before it existed? So I got to tell you real quick, Matt, VR existed before I think any of us actually did in this room.
Right.
But if you're talking about did we think of it and didn't really know about it? Well, I know personally, I've talked about this on the podcast before, but the first time I really kind of saw a glimpse into it, I was playing an iPad game, and you could hold the iPad out in front of you, and it was you could turn physically and see. It was like holding up a window to a virtual world.
So AR.
And I remembered. Yeah, I remembered. Well, but it was it was still a virtual world. There was you didn't see your own world.
Gotcha.
You just saw the game world. So it was kind of like having a VR goggles, but out in front of you, 4 feet. So it wasn't nearly as immersive, but I was I don't know how they're going to do this, but if they make this into actual gaming that can actually work, this would be incredible. Basically, Rift 1 did that. They took it out like a mini iPad, shoved it on your face. We've come a long ways. What about you guys? Before VR became, at least let's say, mainstream, did you think about it? Were you into it, or was it something you discovered after the fact?
I had a completely oh, sorry. You want to go?
No, keep talking. No, you're good.
Okay.
We'll go around this way.
I had like this completely like different mindset about like the future of like gaming and stuff like that. And so I don't know if any of you have ever seen the movie Gamer.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. With
I
what's
don't
his
think
name? But he's
so.
like a convict, and people can
Yeah,
control him. Yeah.
yeah. So in that movie, these people can control other humans virtually, quote unquote, by being in this room that's basically just this 360-degree screen they can stand inside of.
Hmm.
And so whatever they do with their arms and movement and stuff like that happens within uh, what's happening in real life because they're controlling people like inmates who are on death row, and if they successfully
Oh.
complete these missions, they can get the person out of death row.
Huh.
And so what they had this real immersive, like almost like just TV room, which is what I called it. And so I thought that was going to be the future. And I knew about the Virtual Boy and stuff like that, and but it was very, very limited as to what it was capable of. But
Right.
of course, it was the start of the idea. And but I just thought that the whole 360-degree screen thing was going to be what was going to happen.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, that's
interesting
pretty
there.
cool.
We'll just go around the circle and go to Destiny. But before we do, I don't want to get into an argument with you here, but I feel like the Virtual Boy was more like the death of it briefly rather
Oh
than the
yeah,
start. It's
yeah.
like what killed it for a second.
It
Destiny,
was
what
the
about
start
you?
and the death.
The beginning and
Right.
end. Now we're back. Destiny.
So I think for me, like, have y'all ever went to a Six Flags like years ago where they had that? I don't even know what you'd call it, but it was the SpongeBob ride where you could like sit in the chair, you're like buckled in, and you the screen was like massive, massive, and it almost seemed like it was popping out at you, but you're
Oh
like moving with
yes.
it. And there's several like arcades and like places that had things like that I was always like fascinated by. Like those were my favorite types to get into. So I definitely like the idea, and I think it's really cool that they went from like that to what we have now.
Hmm. I
And sort of
What
like
about
the
have
you,
not
idea
Rick?
of
played
like
that.
omni theaters.
Yeah, yeah.
Was this which Six Flags was this?
The Texas one. I don't know if other
Yeah.
locations had it.
No. No, I've never been to that.
Yeah, I
I
remember
know
Oh,
the
it was
SpongeBob one.
so cool. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
SpongeBob.
awesome. It
like
was
they
my
would spray
favorite.
you and like blow air and stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like hardcore immersive. Like forget
Hardcore
That's
the roller
immersive.
awesome.
coasters. I just wanted to do that ride the whole time.
I gotta look this up now. That's
Yeah,
good to
right.
know.
Oh, it was epic. You missed out.
Hmm. Yeah, I thought I wouldn't be alive for seeing VR. To be honest with, I had never like my only introduction to VR was like through like just fiction stories, and that was it. And I just assumed that we would never really get that. And then the Rift comes out, and it's like this is somewhat practical, guys. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. But
hmm
as I've said before, it wasn't until like getting to play the Vive that I realized how impressive it actually was. And did I only then decide, oh, this is like going to be a thing? But I never really like imagined. I don't think I imagined VR in general. I never put like much thought into it prior to getting to actually test it out and just seeing the Rift S when it came, or the original Rift when it came out. It wasn't like something I was necessarily like hoping for too dramatically, I think. But and then it came out, and now I'm like, oh, it's the best thing ever.
It is. It is. I thought about it, I think, because I kind of saw some of the transformation from 2D to 3D games, like especially having an older brother. He was able to kind of like explain it to me, I feel like, better. But
Right.
like I remember seeing us going from like a Sega Genesis to the Nintendo 64. And I remember us saying, like, oh, one day we're gonna actually be like the character inside the game. But same as you, I didn't think that would be this soon. I didn't
Right.
think that would happen. I thought that would be like
Right.
I'd be an old man doing it and be telling the grandkids, oh, I was
Yeah.
a little kid and I imagined this one day. So
I
Yeah,
that's
know, it's
exactly.
awesome.
crazy. Or like when you go to the eye doctor and like they would put your like face up to that machine and you have to see the image, like the little tree far away.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
talking about?
Oh,
Hmm.
that's
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah.
And now you can actually play games like that and not just see the little tree. We've came so far.
We have. All right, moving on. Commander Nexion. Destiny, do you know how he pronounces his name?
And I would assume Nexion. I
All
don't
right.
know.
How far out do you think we are from having some form of VR in every home, much like many homes now have a gaming console or PC? Um, in my opinion, it's not going to be VR that's in every home. I think AR will end up being in every home, because that's actually practical to a wide audience. Until VR really gets to the point where it's like basically just sunglasses, most people aren't going to want it to just strap to their faces unless it's like just most people don't want to put in that effort unless they're looking for something or they're already a
Right.
gamer. But for people that are non-gamers, when we've started to see like laptops and stuff like that come into their lives, it was when it became practical and necessary for daily life. VR is nowhere near that. AR might end up being that way pretty soon, honestly. If Microsoft HoloLens nails their technology, we might end up seeing a, the standardization of our computers being attached to like glasses and then having it overlaid on our life. That I could see. VR, probably not. I don't think it'll become in everyone's home.
I think it'll be XR in everyone's home. For
Mm.
those of you who don't know XR, it's kind of like there used to be this thing. It was like AR versus VR, and everybody kind of realized like it's probably not going to be one or the other. We're going to have some form of fusion at some
Right.
point
Yeah.
in the two. And
Yeah.
so XR headsets are kind of saying they're like the halfway in between. I think that VR will have a place. Like I think that once workplaces finally see it, some of them are now. Training
Yeah.
could be done in VR
Businesses.
and save you so much money that might be where you'll see VR all the time, and there'll still be gaming it and stuff. But like every company might use VR to train people, and
Right.
then AR could be used all throughout your life. We wouldn't need phones anymore if you had glasses or contacts that would display your messages and had an apparatus that actually ran it all. And then XR is too new to really tell you like what I think or even what it might be. But I feel like if there was some sort of fusion where you could have both, like in your glasses, you could shut it down and fully immerse yourself in the game, and you could open it back up and see an overlay on the real world. That would be insane. But that's probably a long ways out with the technology.
Right.
I mean, at least
Yeah.
30 years, I would guess, on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Moving us on. Destiny, you got the next one?
Okay, so with this one, it is knee. Do y'all want to help me
Neo?
with this one? Neunio?
Nunia. That's
Neunio?
how I say it. I don't know if that's right.
Nunio 181. He asked, quick question. What was your most nauseous time in VR? Ooh, okay. So, let's see. I think
Anything
my
on PlayStation
first
VR?
app, right? I think like my first social app I got into was Altspace, and they had the locomotion movement, and immediately I was nauseous. And then I got into like Pavlov, and it was times a million.
Yeah.
So I think definitely those, and I still get that way. Like it's gotten better, but
Uh
quite a
huh.
few games, if they don't have teleport, then I'm gonna feel it a little bit. What about y'all?
Mm-hmm. Greg.
The only time I've ever felt nauseous or even like any sort of like motion sickness was pretty much in like games where you would either like they're just like roller coasters or
Des-
We're having some
Destiny's
real
having seat
Me and
problems.
troubles.
Jay tonight.
but games like roller coasters. And my very first VR experience whenever I first got like a proper headset
Mm-hmm.
was this horror game where it's this do you guys remember like those old arcade shooter things where you would have like the almost realistic looking guns, but then like you had actual targets and
Right.
then they had like the
Mhm,
little red dots on them that you had to shoot?
Yeah.
mhm.
It that the game is pretty much that, but like it's haunted. Ooh. But
All right.
there's a section of the game where you start out being able to move around on your own, but as soon as you want to progress, you have to get into a mine cart and
Oh
it
no.
sends you down like this automated uh little track where you have to shoot little targets and stuff, but then eventually of course it drops you off and it goes down like this crazy twisty turny, that sort of thing. And I wasn't ready for that since I hadn't tried it before.
Right.
And it in standing up and my body wasn't used to moving and not moving at the same time, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It it sort of I actually fell down because
Oh
it's
Oh
no.
like
no.
I was really confused, and I had to like rip the headset off and just be like,
Oh.
okay, I
Refocus.
need to take a breather here for a sec.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but it's just like roller coaster games and stuff like that, where it's making me move without me controlling it, is sort of the games that make me nauseous.
Right.
Yeah, especially roller coaster.
Yeah, roller coasters are kind of known for being like a crazy one, but Rip's trying to say PSVR. I gotta say, obviously, I've never been fully sick in VR, but the Gear VR was where I started, and I think that's why I don't get sick, because every experience was like short. It was only a few minutes, but it was intensely. Some of them were intensely crazy, and they would have made you sick. But luckily, they were only a few minutes, so I think I built up my immunity back then. So yeah, that
Nice.
was lucky.
Mm,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I had a
fancy boy with early VR.
yeah.
It came free if you upgrade your phone, so I wasn't that fancy.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah, I think most of my motion sickness time was from when I owned the PlayStation VR trying to play Rigs. Was that what it was called?
Oh yes, Riggs.
Yeah. I really liked the game, but it was difficult to stomach. Oh no. Actually, it wasn't that one. It was there was like when there was like a come with the PlayStation VR sort of
Oh,
suite of
Odyssey,
games.
Scavenger's Odyssey.
Yes.
That was the one that made everyone sick. I thought it was weird you said Riggs, because that wasn't Scavenger's Odyssey was like the way to find out if you could get motion sick. That game was just, I don't even know why. It was crazy for people.
Yeah.
Still a cool game though.
Yeah, that one easily like I had to like lie down for hours after that one. It was so rough. Definitely
Oof.
soured my
Yeah.
experience of the PlayStation VR.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Um,
motion sickness is no joke.
all right, Jay, hit us up with the last question.
So Starsight asks the most specific question ever. What is the best thing about VR and why do you think so?
Ah, yes. I just,
So-
I'm so ready for that one.
not broad at all. I will say, I think that one of what could be the best things about it, what's to come, I think the social aspect still has not really found its legs yet. But after I spent Father's Day with my dad in VR because he's in lockdown, I couldn't go see him. It was like, wow, it felt like we actually hung out. And not only did we actually, we had to do more things than we ever would have been able to do in real life. It was so cool that I think that once we have it to where you can sit courtside with your brother or freaking watch an MMA fight from in the ring with your family member, like to be able to do stuff like that with people in a social setting, like it would be crazy, and it would span the gap of like the entire world to be able to be that close with each other and experience things right in your face together. So I think that's something that's not there yet, but I think that's my favorite part of where it could be going.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree, Jay. There is actually a really cool, I don't know what you'd call it. It's kind of like a hybrid of like a mall and a social app that's going to be up and coming. And I don't know the name of them, but they do follow us, and it's insane. It's called like Cine World or Cinema World or something, but it is so cool. Like I can't imagine. Like you actually can try on stuff and like order things. Like it's totally getting to that level. So yeah, like where it could be going, the whole like social versus like interaction, and it's really cool. I think that's definitely my favorite part as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely think a big part of VR is the escapism of it all, and how you can pretty much pick your own world that you want to go to. If you had like a really bad day or something, you can go to a movie theater. You can go into this sci-fi or fantasy land and fight monsters or dragons, or almost do whatever you want at this point. But of course, limited to what VR is currently capable of. But
Yeah.
I definitely think the escapism is one of the the main thing that's hooking people, and
Mm-hmm.
how they can, especially now that we're in, the quarantine and all that sort of stuff. People have gotten into VR more, I would think, and it definitely helps with the being stuck at home all the time sort of feeling.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's what I think about VR. It's just going where you want when you want and having fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
Um.
Rip.
Okay.
Mhm.
Um. I I'm like I kind of want to also say the social thing, but I'll say something different. Um, for me, it's the um I just like the way you play a VR game, like Half-Life Alyx, for example. The way you play Half-Life Alyx, like when I was thinking about like as people mod it and get it ready for um trying to play it on flat screen instead of in VR, I was just thinking and looking at these people trying to make that happen. I was like, I wouldn't want to do that. What makes the game so special is how it plays in VR. And it's that aspect of VR of like being able to like reach and grab stuff and dodge and like I like that I can do these things in VR and you can't do that in a game. Or not in a game, in a non VR game. And that difference to me
Yeah.
is huge and perhaps the biggest selling point for me.
Yeah, there's nothing real about picking up a magazine by pressing square
Right.
on a controller. But when you're in VR, you're grabbing it, you're sticking it in your pack. It's totally different.
Yes.
Right?
Mhm.
The simple stuff becomes fun. All right.
Yeah.
So, with the Q&A section out of the way, let's get into the news. But first, this week's news segment is brought to you in partnership with Asterion. Does your headset Hold up. Does your VR headset still live in a cardboard box? Here at Full Dive Gaming, we believe your headset should rest on a stand worthy of your VR device. And that's why we're really excited to recommend the Aura Universal VR Stand. Compatible with every VR headset, the stand is minimal, it's modern, and it looks great on your desk or in your living room. And with clean RGB lighting, you can cycle through a plethora of colors or consistently alternating color mode. If even I misread that. It's always so hard. Like I can go so far reading these things, but like it's just fuzzy enough that occasionally I'll mess up. So the stand also has a USB port, so if you've got a Quest or you've got controllers or whatever else needs charging, it will charge your stuff. Pretty sweet.
Does the job.
It charges it. So some of us have just gotten them for the first time. Some of us have had them for a while. Greg, do you use a VR stand at all?
No, I just set it on my desktop
Yeah.
or on
A
my
box.
my computer.
Yeah, well, you're like what we were. You should get an Aura stand. We actually
Next
like
level gaming.
I would honestly like this was not like a sell our souls kind of thing. This was actually like this is a really cool VR stand and it's super convenient. You can just kind of like practically drop your you don't have to like be all finicky with getting the
Make sure it's correct.
yeah, making sure it's just like hangs on it and it's super convenient. And it looks kind of cool. So yeah, easy
Yeah,
recommend.
The lighting is gorgeous.
The lighting is gorgeous. Oh, it looks so
Yeah,
good. You guys
yeah.
have to look at that. For those in video, there'll be like a little picture that pops up. But or it would have at least at the start of the video. But for those that don't know, honestly, just look this thing up. It looks really cool. So if you want to pick up your own VR or a VR stand, use the code FULLDIVE at AsterianProducts.com to get $5 off any order over $19.99. Again, that's Full Dive, no spaces, and you can get an Aura VR stand for just $24.99. Asterion Products, we're excited to. What did you write here? Someone changed this.
I didn't write that. That's you.
I think Ryan might have done a light bit of adjustment here. Was excited to dive in and wanted us to say we are big fans of JBrat and Dollface VR and are excited to be a part of your channels.
I would be moving my hands, but they're stuck right now. Woo! Yay, my hands are stuck.
Like, yeah, just pretend they're moving.
Where's the love for Adam and I, Asterion, huh?
This was before they knew you. We're building a relationship right now. So
All right,
this is
well,
the start of it.
yeah,
Rip.
send us a new thing for us to say so that it includes little old me and Adam. All right. So let's begin the news section. Destiny, you got the first one?
Yes, so Oculus Quest 2 may be in the works as VR headset production ramps up. Tech News website has reportedly spoken to sources close to the matter, claiming that a new iteration of Oculus VR headset will start manufacture before the end of July 2020. What's most telling, though, is talk of production numbers. Facebook, which was acquired by Oculus back in 2014, is said to be planning to produce 2 million units in the second half of 2020 alone, which is around twice the amount of VR headsets Oculus produced in the same period last year. That's
I hear
pretty
that
intense
number, and that
number.
doesn't sound like enough. That doesn't sound like
Hmm.
Don't
enough.
think so?
No, because Quest has had such a hard time staying in stock. PSVR did
It's
the same
true.
thing when it came out, and it managed to sell like 5 million units in the first few years. The Quest should be able to outsell the PSVR in 1 year, with it being wireless, with it being new, with it being the price point it is. 2 million is not ambitious enough, in my opinion.
hmm
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
it's going to stay
Does
sold
make
out
sense.
forever.
Mm.
Maybe they were
The
doing that thing
question,
where they only release so much and then they're just kind of like baiting people to get it. You know what I mean?
keep the hype up. That's terrible
Yeah.
I know.
PR, but
Isn't
I
that what
guess
they
that
did
could
with
make sense.
the NES minis and stuff like that? They had like
Yeah.
limited stock and people scalped.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
understand the
They fight
appeal
more
for a
for it.
company to do that, but that's a whole nother thing. So what do you guys think though? Is this a Quest 2? Is this a Quest Pro? Is this just a better kind of Quest? Has anyone read anything or heard any rumors? What do you think?
Well, we keep getting
I haven't
rumors
heard
that
anything
it's going to
else.
be a new Quest. So I think it's pretty safe to say that's what we're getting at this point. And we've talked about this before on the podcast as well when we were first starting to get rumors. And it'd be one thing if it was like all over the place with rumors, but they've been pretty consistent with it being a Quest,
Yeah.
and we've gotten fairly consistent prototype pictures coming out that have been leaked, and they all look the same. It's not like totally wax. Oh, Jesus, my VR chat's acting weird. Yeah, I think it'll be a Quest 2, or at least something like the Quest if they don't call it the Quest 2.
Quest
Yeah,
S.
I
Quest
agree.
S.
There you go.
Just to make things more
Yeah, stick an
confusing.
S at the end of it.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's a little bit more. I'm wondering if the price is going to be more, because I know some of the things have said it's supposedly had a higher refresh rate. The controllers felt different. It maybe bigger screen. So I'm hoping it's not just an ergonomics change. I'm hoping get us back up to 80 hertz at least, or maybe even 90. Like put a Snapdragon 845 or even an 855, and like people will pay the extra $100 for something a little beefier that can do a little more than the Quest can do. So I'm really
Mhm.
hoping it's a bit more than what we've got now.
Honestly, I don't mind. I mean, they do kind of need to get to that 90 hertz point, but what I'm most excited for when I saw those pictures, I was talking about just earlier with how I want headsets that are like even thinner. And looking at the pictures, it looks like they're trying to get there with this new Oculus. It looks like a very slim device, which
Probably I'm sure they've had a million complaints about how heavy it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
So it's lighter. Unfortunately, they still can't seem to figure out that they need, like, if they're going to make a slim headset, just have it be like a slim form factor in the front, a halo band that's solid material, and then a bit of weight in the back. And you can do that
Exactly.
without it being too large. Do that, Facebook.
I agree.
Free advice.
Do it, Facebook. Yeah.
You should obviously be listening to us.
Yes.
In other news, so Chinese ODM, I don't know how to say this, Goertek, aims to produce over 3 million more VR AR headsets annually.
Someone's
So
got the
everybody
right
out there's like,
idea.
what are you talking about? Because like probably no one's heard this name. Goertek may not be well known to consumers. However, it plays a larger role in the VR AR industry than you might think. Creates parts, reference designs, as well as finished white label products for some of the biggest companies on the planet. Mainly noted for its work in acoustic components, the Weifeng, I don't know if I'm saying that right, China-based company reportedly played a role in the creation of the optical, structural, and hardware design of Microsoft's mixed reality headsets.
Yeah. So
So this is
they're a
more
parts
good
maker.
VR news. Yeah, more good VR news. They're making more, getting more headsets out there.
Mhm.
3 million more. I mean, that's a bigger number, but still, it's not the
Yeah.
numbers we need to get these things in everyone's
Right?
hands. So
They're not keeping up with demand, and it's ridiculous.
yep.
Hmm.
There's a lot of people in the world. 1 million is not that much.
Yeah. I don't know
Yeah,
what.
you go to
Especially with
any
quarantine, like people need it.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, there's
You go to
this.
any grocery store that sells VR headsets, they don't have any.
I know the $5 ones at Ross have pretty much all ran out by now, right?
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Well, like even like Best Buy, like it used to be that they would have every Best Buy, I'm pretty certain, at least all the ones I've been to, have a section for Oculus stuff. They have that little like I don't know, the Oculus section, and they have the Quest and the Rift S, and sometimes it's just the Quest for some reason. Um, and it's empty. It's been empty for forever now.
Yep.
Our
And
local
they'd
one
at
stopped
least have like
carrying VR stuff.
Yeah.
they'd at least have like maybe one PSVR headset available too.
Right.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
now you can't even find those.
Yep. It's ridiculous. Come on, guys. I know that like obviously it's hard to keep up with production, but this is like if they're not working like night and day to get these headsets to people, they're missing out on a stupid amount of money. Everyone wants to get into VR right now because they're stuck at home. Take advantage of this, guys. They're not. They're not taking advantage of it.
Make your money.
Make your money. We're all looking to buy. It's so frustrating. Is this just me venting my frustration because I still have to wait 8 weeks to get my index? Maybe.
8 weeks plus.
8 weeks plus.
8 plus weeks.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. I was just reading a Reddit post this morning. People are like, "Yeah, it still says it's 8 weeks in. It still says over 8 weeks." And then all these other people are like, "I'm at 10 weeks. I'm at 14 weeks." I'm like, "Fuck."
Oh,
Ooh.
it's getting worse.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. All right. Something I'm more excited about. So, we have not anything really official so much as just some like some talk, but it's newsworthy to me, and I think for a lot of other people. Microsoft Flight Simulator Microsoft Flight Simulator VR support still a post-launch top wish list item. So, Microsoft Flight Simulator seemed like the ideal candidate for VR when it was unveiled back in E3 2019 in June. However, word got out at E3 that the studio hasn't fully committed to supporting VR headsets at launch. They were kind of like, they just said, it's an option, but it's not like in the plans right now. And everyone was so mad. The entire flight sim community was like, come on, guys, we're all in VR now. Like most of the flight sim community has VR headsets because it's like a match made in heaven, VR and flight sims.
Yeah.
So they said they were going to support it. And while we don't know if VR support hold up, what does it say? We're no closer to knowing when VR support is coming. However, it is a top wish list item for post launch. So that's actually some pretty exciting news for all us VR flight sim people, because this is like, if you guys haven't seen Microsoft Flight Simulator footage yet, the new one coming out, it's just gorgeous. Like I can't imagine anyone not at least wanting to try this game. It's drop dead gorgeous, and if they get it in VR, oh, it'll be one of my top 10 real quick
Nice.
if they keep the graphics. So a lot of people excited.
Isn't it like using real maps, kind of like Google Maps does,
Yeah.
to make up all the terrains? That's why it's so good. Like you could actually go fly around the real world,
Exactly.
basically.
Yeah, they're
wow.
using a very smart algorithm, and it's not the difference between like a game like that and like Google Maps, even Google Earth, which is like already in VR. Google Earth tries its best to, as accurately as possible, represent the real world in 3D. Whereas from what we've seen of footage, it's more like Flight Simulator when it has an area that it like hasn't been like handcrafted. The algorithms focuses less on matching exactly what it's like in real life, so much as it still wants things to look good. So, like in Google Earth, when there's an area that hasn't gotten much attention in Google Earth in terms of like getting it like more 3D ready, it looks awful. Whereas,
Area 51.
yeah. However, if you go to a place that like everywhere gets at least like good looking forests and good looking grass and good looking like, do you get what I'm saying? It'll always look good. Whether it'll be as accurate to the real world as possible is another story, but at least everywhere will look good, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, I would play around with it. I'm not big on flight sims, but just to go see it
Right.
through the plane and like I would try it out at least once. And I think that's the one things about VR. It can pull you into something you weren't really into. I
Hmm.
think if this comes to VR, there'll be a lot of people that thought they weren't into flight sims, tried this and are like, okay, now I'm into flight
Yeah.
sims.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one does sound like something I would try.
Yeah. It's a pretty gorgeous game. I would just look up any trailer for it, and you'll probably be sold pretty quick. Um, the one thing I
Mm.
hope they do right is a lot of fight simulators have like they don't have good tutorials. They need to just be able to let people just hop into a plane and just fly without too much headache. If people can do that and go, this is really cool, then they can invest time in it. Anyway,
Like have an easy mode.
yeah, have an easy. They do.
Yes.
They do need an
Right.
easy mode.
Easy beginner.
Turn on autopilot.
Hmm.
Boom. That's how most pilots fly now, anyways.
Yeah.
Press the autopilot.
All right, Jay. Next news piece.
So they heard what I said. It's happening. Steam VR is finally making it easy to reposition and center from anywhere you're at.
Oh
So
yeah.
the latest, yeah, I've been whining about this
Nice.
because PSVR has always had it, and I get on PC and it's like, what the heck? Why don't we have this? The
Right.
latest main branch update to Steam VR adds a dashboard button, which makes it effortless to redefine the forward and center orientation of your play space. A simple but useful feature for like every game.
Yeah.
Steam VR has been around since the earliest days of consumer VR, but Valve has finally now added a simple way to reorient, recenter your play space. Clicking the button will start a 3-second, I can't do a 3-second timer, countdown timer, at which point your position and looking direction will be used to redefine the center and forward directions of your play space, which means not just do we have a button, you can press it and then you can quickly sit up straight, get what you want to be. Like you don't have to like be pointing forward and like try to click the button off to the side. You have time now.
Mhm.
So I know Rip's excited about this. How do you feel?
Oh yeah, this makes me want Oculus to do a similar thing. Where Oculus right now has, you know what I think would be sort of like the best of all worlds would be if you could do the recenter thing and then you'd like say hold trigger. But what would happen is rather than still being in pass through, it would go to the game. So you'd still be in the game, but as long as you're holding trigger, the world will move with you until you're happy with where it is, and then you release the trigger. That would be like the perfect thing for me. Because the
Mm.
trouble is, if you're like, especially for a lot of these like cockpit games where you kind of want to be like exactly in the center of your spaceship or whatever, is like I'll be in Elite Dangerous. I'll be facing forward, and I'll go to recenter view. The game goes away. Now it's the recenter view thing. And then I like have to like look as forward as possible and then point my finger towards the thing and press the button. And it's kind of a nuisance. And then it goes away and my view's recentered. But the game is not like exactly lined up where I wanted it to because I was just kind of guessing.
Yeah, then you have to do it again.
And then you have to do it again. So
The vicious
Greg,
cycle.
you have Windows mixed reality. What does this mean anything to you?
No, not really.
do you not use
Freaking
Steam
Windows
VR
mixed reality.
at all?
Yeah, I use Steam VR.
Does
It's just
just
its
when
own thing.
WMR headsets, after numerous amounts of updates, we have like that sort of stuff just built in.
right? Yeah, like Oculus stuff. Yeah. Well,
And so like if I want to reposition myself, I just use my joysticks.
right.
And I get to where I want to be. Like how you said how you want to pull the trigger and move to where you want to be.
Hmm.
I can just do it with the joysticks
Ugh.
anytime.
Man, that's even better than Oculus.
The one thing,
Yeah.
the one thing that's better than everything else.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this as someone who's expecting to be switching to an index VR pretty soon here. I was kind of worried about this aspect.
Right.
I'm definitely one of the things I'm going to miss most is the Oculus OS. It's so much better than Steam's. Even
I
if
feel like you're the first person that said that, so
I think,
I'm interested.
well, I mean, I like that the Steam VR platform is a little bit more modifiable. Like you can add like Steam OVR toolkit and stuff like that. But just for like stock, the Steam dashboard is so intuitive, so simple, and it's kind of Apple versus Android in the sense that like Steam is Android, it's customizable, but it's a little finicky and doesn't always run all that well. Oculus is doesn't take up that much nearly as much resources to run in the background, and it's like very smooth and easy to use, but lacking some options.
Search bar.
I was I forgot for for a brief moment yesterday. I'd forgotten that Facebook owned Oculus, so I'd purchased some stuff on the Oculus store, and I got all these emails saying like, here, you just made a payment to Facebook Technologies. And I got like 2 of those, and was like, I didn't buy
Oh
anything from
no.
Facebook. Did someone like hack into my account?
Oh no.
And then I saw the prices. I was like, oh no, I know what this is.
Mm.
Oh, Facebook.
I did not need that reminder. That's like something I try to put in the back of my mind, is that Facebook
I
owns all of it.
know. Ugh.
Oh well, at least they're putting the money in and making this thing great. You know what? I like that. Even if they're a scummy company. All right, moving on. So, Oculus improves iteration time for Quest developers using Unity Engine 4. We are really scraping the
Unreal
bottom
Engine.
of the barrel for updates. Oculus, it's just one of those weeks, guys. Oculus has updated its Unity Engine 4 Quest.
Yeah.
Unity Engine 4 for Quest development tools so that developers can spend less time waiting and more time testing and iterating on their VR applications. The changes are similar in scope to recent improvements to Unity Quest development because Quest has its own standalone headset. Testing how an application will run on the headset itself requires packaging the application and then deploying it to the headset before being able to test it, which, as a non-VR developer, we need Adam here to give us the official, yeah, it's annoying as hell. But we can just only guess, and it sounds pretty annoying.
Oh, I know
Yeah.
about it. I've been developing a VR game.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, it's super annoying having to port things over constantly. Yeah, no
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, so very time
That's
consuming.
what takes the most time.
Yeah. Very time consuming to test small changes. Iteration time is a key factor in the efficiency of creating any media. For developers building Quest applications, the faster the time between making changes and testing them. You know, I gotta zoom this in more. I'm just like, I'm struggling.
Well, and in Adam's absence, I did a little research to try and help understand what this is saying. So, like, basically, if a developer was like, oh, I don't quite like how this hand is working, I want to change that, they would have to change that in their settings, basically re-export the game to the Quest, wait for this process to happen, and then go in and try it and say, oh, no, that wasn't what I wanted to do, redo it
Ew.
again. Now they'll basically be able to make hot changes real quick, jump back into the headset, and see if it did what they wanted. So that's a huge
Oh, yeah.
constraint to be under, and to change your workflow like that. I feel like it's just going to open more doors to developers for Quest. So that makes life a lot easier to make quick changes
yeah.
when you're trying to develop something.
That is nice.
All right. I think with that, we are ready to move into the game section. So first, before we hop into the game section, our not sponsor partnership. I didn't want to like rewrite exactly what I did for the first section, because then it's like doing the same thing, saying the exact same things twice in a podcast, which I didn't want to do. But it means I'm just gonna have to wing it. So bear with me.
Ready? I'm so ready. You've been great at winging it tonight, so I'm ready.
Oh yeah, it's been great. It's been so great. So we've recently partnership with Asterion. They sent us all the Aura VR headsets to try out and see if we wanted to recommend them, and we did. They're just like the best stands we've used so far. Just take a look at these things, guys. Just look them up online. They're on Amazon. We're going to recommend Asterion products because if you use our code FULLDIVE at Asterion products, you get $5 off any order over $19, $19.99 specifically, which brings the Aura stand down to $24.99. Totally worth it, guys. This headset is clean, it's minimalist, and it looks freaking great. Yeah, get this stand.
It's got a USB port on the side of it. So like you take your headset, you take your Quest off, it's now charged. You plug your phone in, you leave your phone on it while you're playing your Quest. You come back to your phone charged too. Put your headset back.
There you go,
Just works.
multitasking.
just works.
Mhm. Actually, now that you say that, I always have trouble like plugging in my because all my USB ports here are attached to the computer. But whenever I plug in my phone to the computer, it like wants to connect and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
open all these things, and I just want it to charge. And now that you've reminded me that I've got this wonderful little USB port that isn't related to the computer, it's just power. I'm like, ooh, I might
Good
I might use
idea.
that.
It's the way to go. Get one. Full dive.
Yep, full dive, no spaces. FULLDIVE. All right. So, um, so according to the script, I will go first. Um, so I've been playing Pistol Whip, guys. Um, it's hardly a new game. It's not like that old. It's not as old as like Beat Saber, but it's been out for a while now. It did get a big, I say a big, it's technically one song and a bunch of guns, but in a game where you don't have mod support quite like Beat Saber, it means a lot more to have like a new song come out. That's a lot of content for this game. So it got a new song. It got a whole bunch of guns related to Baba Yaga, which is like the guns that were used in John Wick, which are pretty darn cool. So it got an update middle of June. We didn't cover that at the time, but Pistol Whip is also coming to PlayStation VR in like a couple weeks sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Coming soon.
coming real soon.
Very soon.
So I was like, all right, I gotta play this game. I've heard such great things about it. All my favorite Beat Saber content creators are playing half Beat Saber, half Pistol Whip. Let's see what this is all about. And I will say, not even like 5 minutes in, I was already like, yep, this just made my top 5 list. It's so fun.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's John Wick in VR. You feel like a badass playing this game. So the premise of Pistol Whip is you're kind of like an arcade game, like old arcade game. You're just kind of like moving down a path at a constant speed, and enemies kind of pop up and run at you and stuff, and you shoot them, which might not sound all that exciting, but when you're playing it to some really sweet music and you've got some sick guns and you can turn on dual wielding or go like single pistol. It technically decreases your score by 10%, but I feel like I always want to use dual wielding because it's so darn
Oh,
fun.
of course.
Yeah. Just dual wielding. It's got you can turn on or off auto aim, and I'll like when I want to get serious, I'll turn off auto aim, and it adds 25% experience, but it means you have to be really accurate, which can be kind of tough.
Yeah.
Especially since you don't have like a real pistol in your hands. And then you've got but regularly it's got a little bit of auto aim, which honestly I was pretty okay with most of the time in terms of just I want to have fun and play this game because it makes you feel so cool and so good. It's real satisfying to play and an absolute blast. And it quickly became like, in terms of games I want to play regularly, like I always come back to like Beat Saber, for example, because it's just so darn fun. This is definitely like quickly risen to the top of my games that like I will come back to regularly when I just want to have fun in VR, or I've got some people over, and like it's now Beat Saber, Super Hot VR, and Pistol Whip are like it's my new set of go-to games.
It's technically a rhythm shooter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't there like some rhythm to it?
I mean, you can shoot whenever you want. So you get extra points if you shoot to the rhythm. I'm not all that great at it because I'm kind of new at it. Right now, I'm just having so much fun blasting people. I'm not too worried. Like just blasting people with some awesome like EDM or whatever is playing, going on in the background as you're doing it is satisfying enough for me.
So I just started blasting.
I just started blasting. I just started blasting like brought to life.
Do you get to like pick the music, or is it just kind of
You
like per level?
well, you can't like bring in your own music if that's what you're asking. That said, there's nothing stopping you from muting the game and then pulling up Spotify
And then just going to your own?
and yeah, there's nothing stopping you from doing that. In fact, as I'm saying it, I'm like, I kind of want to try this.
Right. You're like, it's a good idea.
That's not, you know what? I might do that. That
Yeah,
said, the
you need
songs they
to try
have,
that.
yeah. That said, the songs they have are pretty sweet. I mean, I liked it because I'm into EDM and all that. If you're not into electronic music, maybe your mileage will vary. I'd like to think that even if you're not crazy into it, it's still just like a blast to play. Um, that said, that is sort of the only genre of music they have for all their songs. But they have like, I don't know,
Love
10
that.
to 15. I didn't count. Maybe it's 15 to 20.
Greg, have you played any, or is it on your list, or do you just not care about it? What is your opinion?
Uh, I don't know. The whole rhythm game thing isn't really my cup of tea. Like, of course, I have Beat Saber.
Right.
You know, if you have VR, you have to have Beat Saber.
Right.
And of course, before then, I played Guitar Hero. But
Right.
besides that, I haven't dealt with any other sort of
Mm-hmm.
rhythm sort of games.
Right. I think I'd like if are you into shooters?
It really depends on the shooter.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'd still recommend this because to me, when I was playing it, it didn't feel like a rhythm game. You could play it like a rhythm game because you can shoot on the beat. And nothing's stopping you from doing that. But on the other hand, nothing's forcing you to do that. It's just a points
Yeah, that
bonus.
is nice.
So if you just want to have
Hmm.
fun and shoot things as they come at you to awesome music, to me, that was the premise of the game.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah,
I need
it's
to
a lot
get on
different than I thought
this.
it was.
oh, dude,
It's been on my list,
Jay,
and it's like
you gotta play this.
it's one that I just keep putting off, and I don't really know why I keep putting it off. But it's like I really want to. But the thing for me, I didn't like Guitar Hero. I didn't like rhythm games until Beat Saber.
Right.
And even since Beat Saber, I've played a bunch of rhythm games in VR, and none of them feel like Beat Saber. Beat Saber, you're forced to move to the music, and you're forced to do these motions that can actually feel really fun. Where other ones like Synth Riders, you're shooting and you're trying to shoot on beat, it just didn't feel like it. So now that you say it's not just a rhythm game, it can be a shooter, it can be whatever you want. That kind of interests me more
Yeah.
because I really wasn't sure where this game fit into the scheme of things. Now I want to try it.
It honestly, to me, felt more like a better Super Hot was already a lot of fun, but imagine Super Hot, but to awesome music. That's
Yes.
that's what Pistol Whip is because it's got like the same thing where like enemies kind of appear and come at you. It's super stylized, and when enemies shoot at you, it's not like it instantly travels to you and you take damage. They like all the bullets travel in like slow motion, so you're like as you're moving through to music, you're like dodging and it's so fun. It's so fun.
Matrix.
Yeah, Matrix.
I'm sure I'm not the first one who's done, but I put the Matrix soundtrack on while playing through Super Hot, and it is just so good. So I gotta get on Pistol Web. Well, I spent some time this week playing with another YouTuber. I played a game called Path of the Warrior. Anyone here familiar at
No.
all?
Yes, I have that.
Oh, okay. So you can help me out here. So like, remember Streets of Rage way back in the day, side scrolling,
Is it on Oculus?
beat 'em up. It's on Oculus, yes,
Okay.
on Oculus. I
Mhm.
think exclusively. Uh, Basically you're jump into first person inside of Streets of Rage from the 80s or whatever. You've got just random bar thugs coming at you and you're punching them, you're grabbing stuff you can find to throw at them and hit them with stuff. You punch them until they're into a knockout phase and they're like standing there all weird, and you can grab them and you can throw them in the oven, or you can throw them up on the burners, or you can throw them into the jukebox and electrocute them. It was way more intense than I expected it to be, but the best part, it's multiplayer. So I played it co-op with a friend, and that made the experience. I mean, it may not have been as amazing all by myself. I think I would have gotten tired of it, but I got a workout in. My watch was like 27 minutes dynamic workout when I stopped, and I was all sweaty. I had a good time playing with a friend, and it's a really visually pleasing experience because the graphics they're meant to look arcadey, but they're fun and fun to play.
Mhm.
So, Destiny, you said you have it. Have you played it?
Yes, but only a little bit just because I've noticed that game does cause a lot of motion sickness. And so I've played the I don't know what you would call it, but it's kind of like the little games Oh, let me come back to the table. It's the little games, like, within the game, like, where you go to the bar
Ah,
and you can, like, fill up drinks and things like that. So I just kind of stick to that part of it. But yeah, like, I mean, overall, like, the style is cool and everything, but,
Hmm.
yeah,
Just looking
well,
at
they have some.
footage, it kind of reminds me of it feels like a bit of like a Yakuza um plus Gorn plus maybe
Yeah,
Cyberpunk.
yeah,
Ooh,
it's
that
got a
sounds
little bit of all that.
yeah, it's
fun.
like a hybrid. It's just kinda like old school Street Fighter arcade.
Yeah.
Well, and after you beat a level, after you get done beating up all the bad guys, you can go do stuff around the environment that you were in. So, like the second level, you're in this roller rink, and they have Brick Breaker. If you know what Brick Breaker is, on an arcade machine, and it worked really well. You just hold the joystick with your Oculus controller, and you move your little platform back and forth, and there's one ball bouncing, and you bounce it back and forth, and take out all these bricks. And I seriously played that for like 10 minutes. The dude was like, "Okay, we need to like wrap up the collab and do our outros," and I was like, "I'm just gonna keep playing Brick Breaker, dude. I don't know, you go do your thing, but I'm just gonna keep playing Brick Breaker and say my outro because Brick Breaker is so fun." So I,
Yeah,
I
that is what's cool about it. There's a lot of
yeah,
stuff to do, like, within the game, not just the mission.
That is cool.
yeah. Get it with a friend, I would say.
Yeah.
And for Destiny, the motion sickness, I didn't feel it on the PC, but I'm betting on the Quest like anything else. Probably runs a little rougher. So I definitely felt like it ran decent on the PC. The thing that bugged me, because I don't get motion sick, I wanted to be able to turn faster. I had the turn speed all the way up, and I still felt like I was turning slow. That's probably to like protect you and help you not get sick. But get a friend and try this out if you get a chance, because I totally think it was worth it. It was really fun.
Hmm.
Yeah, multiplayer makes a huge difference in a lot of games, I think.
Always.
Trying to see if they made Gorn. It looks so similar that I'm like, is it the same company? But I can't seem to find any information on that.
Yeah, I don't know who makes it.
Oh well.
It's much less gory than Gorn, but it is fun. You
Right.
still kill people pretty brutally.
Yeah, that looks like a fun game. I don't know if it's like too much my kind of game. Like I might it looks like the kind of game I might like pick up just to like say I've played it, play like 5-10 minutes, maybe even 30, and then like never play it again.
If you play it with a friend,
Yeah, yeah, pretty
you'll play
much.
more than that.
Okay.
But if you were on your own, yeah. If I was on my own, I would have made it through level 1. I would have been done with it. But playing with a friend, I was like, let's keep going. Let's see what there is. And I want to go back and play the rest now with a friend, because
Okay.
I do want to see what else there is, especially if there's more Brick Breaker.
That does look cool.
We spent some time, Rip and I actually, Rip finally dragged me into it, because
Yes,
that's what he does.
I
He
do.
just wears you down. I
I'm very
got into
persistent.
Elite Dangerous finally. And Rip he abbreviates it and calls it ED. I don't know. I just can't wrap my head. It's Elite Dangerous. I'm not going to call it ED. Elite Dangerous. Now, this is a game, for those of you who haven't played it out there, it's just a space cockpit simulator, but you're in this huge universe with all these different places to go. But you can fly your ship wherever you want to. You got light speed. They call it all the fancy names. It's not called light speed. You can go do. You're basically a freelancer, so you basically can like decide what missions you want to go do, how you want to make your money. It is pretty. It is really good looking. It has a learning curve like none other. Like, I played for 2 hours and I felt like I was barely scratching the surface of what the game is, what you can do, and how to play it. How many hours do you think you've put into it altogether, Rip? If you had to
Oh,
guess.
I'm playing on like. Well, actually, does Steam have how many hours? If you give
Yeah,
me
I
1
think. Okay.
second, I might be able to
While
give you
he's
a number.
while he's figured that out, have either you played it or seen footage or care at
Mm-mm.
all about it?
I've
No,
seen
I
some
haven't
footage, but I've
seen
never played
footage.
it.
I don't think so.
Well, it's a big time game outside of VR first. It was this big cockpit simulator, tons of people were playing, and then they brought it into VR really without any compromise, in my understanding. Like it's exactly the game in VR. And I was playing it with a HOTAS, so you're not like trying to hold the stick like in No Man's Sky and it's all awkward. I was playing it with a HOTAS, so there was no hand motion controls, but I was able to fully look around and see what was going on and play it. And it's definitely cool, but you've got to be willing to put in the time if you're going to play this game. So
Mhm.
that's probably my only apprehension about the game, is I don't think I would ever spend enough time to get good at it and really love it. But I can see the appeal for those of you who have time. You like a grindy game, you like cockpit, and in the future, they haven't announced VR. We've talked about this on the podcast already. They said there's a legs update coming out where you'll actually be able to get out of your ship and do stuff. and that appeals to me more. That makes me want to get in if they bring that to VR, because I love that in No Man's Sky. I love being able to go check out stuff on the planet and then get in my ship and fly away and do the same thing again.
Mhm. So I've got 80 hours on PC, and I imagine I have, let's see, if I have 80 hours on PC, I probably have like maybe 200, 300 hours on PS4.
Okay, that's what I expected.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately PlayStation doesn't track hours, so there's no way for me to check that. But yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of hours in, and hopefully to some of you, what he's saying about like it requires some investment, and like he felt like he barely scratched the surface. I want to like kind of point out that hopefully to a lot of you that's a good thing, because that's one of the biggest pet peeves I have. It's hardly a pet peeve; it's just a straight up complaint. A lot of VR games have just like no depth, like we were saying about the game just previously. I forget what it's called. What was the game you were playing, Jay?
Path of the Warrior.
Path of the Warrior.
Path of the Warrior.
Like so many VR games like that, where like you play 10 minutes and you like go, okay, I know what this game's about. And you feel like maybe they'll like change something up as you keep playing, but for the most part, like you've done it all already. And the rest is just like filler content to feel like they actually released a game. It's so tech demo. It's like tech demo-y with filler.
Yeah.
That's a lot of VR games right now. So if you want a game that you feel like, no, this is a full proper game, there's a ton for you to do, and you're not going to scratch the surface in even a couple hours. Hopefully to some of you that's like a good thing. I want more games like that, where I feel like I can hop in and I'm like, I'm just going to be able to put so many hours into this, and I'm going to be having fun for a really long time.
Yeah, it makes it worth the money.
Right, exactly. So, that yes, the like getting used to the controls can definitely be a turnoff for some people, and that I understand. But if like, hopefully the hours to put into, like, you don't have to put in those hours to have fun. I don't think. But you can have fun from like starting at the tutorial. That like right, that the tutorial was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets you going into it, and like if you're into cockpit and flight simulators, you're probably gonna be going crazy the whole time. For me, I like wanted to get out and blast something, and that took a little while to get to that, but it definitely you would feel like you got your money's worth with this game because there's so much time to be put into it. I'm just one that doesn't always feel like I have a ton of time, so I have a hard time getting a game like this or like Skyrim, something that I know I'm gonna need to put in those hours to get the experience. It's harder for me, but if you have the time, yeah, you're gonna love it.
Are you raising your hand?
I know that's what it looked like.
We don't raise our hand here, Greg. We just butt in.
I was like, preach.
Yeah, just
Okay, yeah.
go out there.
Sort of thing.
Preach what
Greg,
Not enough time.
Oh yeah.
Greg is here with us. Greg's YouTube is known for a lot of Rec Room, but Greg, do you have a game, something you've been playing lately in VR that you want to talk about? It can be Rec Room, it can be anything, but what have you been playing lately?
Does it have to be VR?
Yeah.
So believe it or not, I'm not really a person to play like a whole bunch of like action-y sort of games. Typically my games that I play is either like puzzles or like relaxing sort of games. And then I play the games where I destroy them for videos and it's funny. But
All right.
the games I've been playing the most lately, one has been called The Unwelcomed,
I've never heard of that.
and
Mm-mm.
it's an escape room game.
Oh right.
And I've been playing a lot of escape room games, and I'm so upset that I can't play The Room Dark Water because I want to so bad. But
I think this one I have.
but this one was only like $7, $8, and you get 7 different escape rooms.
Oh,
And I've only been able to beat one.
that sounds
And-
like glowing marks for a puzzle room game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't give you a time limit, but even so, I haven't been able to beat any of the other rooms because they're really hard. But granted, it does give you everything you need to complete them, except for one room, which I don't want to talk about.
Okay.
Because it does have a timer, quote unquote, but it's not in the typical sense. It's candlelight, and if the candles go out, you can't see, and you have to restart.
Oh jeez.
because there was one room I was in it for like 7 hours trying to beat it.
Oh my
Oh, wow.
goodness. You're getting your
And it's
money's
not
worth out of this
multiplayer.
game.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
sounds like it.
multiplayer either.
so is it like a good kind of
So no
hard or a
help.
bad kind of hard?
I like it a lot because it's hard,
Okay.
but then there are some things within some rooms that are sort of just like they give you things
Mm-hmm.
and it almost feels like they're expected that you should already know
Hmm.
what it's supposed to be instead of them like giving you like a little hint in the corner of the room or giving you a little hint in some fluorescent like paint on the wall you have to light up to be able to see what the hint is. It's sort of like they give you like this line of colors and you're supposed to put the colors in order, but they don't tell you anywhere what the order is.
Wow.
But like once you go back and like look through things, like there are like colors within the room which don't necessarily match up to those colors, but for some reason at the end they do match up. So
Okay.
it's like it was there, but the game never tells you that that's what they're for.
Is this a good thing in your book or a not good thing in your book?
That's one of the unfortunate flaws about like VR escape rooms I've noticed
Mm-hmm.
that I've done a lot. I've done like 50.
Okay.
And anytime like there's an escape room game, I try and play it. And the one unfortunate thing about escape rooms is in real life, they typically go down like either one route or another. Typically, it's either a key hunt or where you're supposed to find a bunch of numbers to unlock different combination locks. That's all fine and dandy. That's real life. Within VR escape rooms, it's a completely different story.
Yeah.
uh, because in VR, like you're almost superhuman. You can knock over a bookshelf without a problem,
Right.
that sort of thing.
Okay.
And sometimes you can accidentally knock over a bookshelf when you're not supposed to in some games,
Bone
and then
works.
you have to restart.
Mm-hmm.
And but the unfortunate thing about VR escape rooms, some people who are developing these games sometimes don't understand what makes an escape room, and they put these puzzles in a room to help you escape, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they understand the flow of why you're supposed to be solving these puzzles to escape. And so they just throw in puzzles and just say go.
Ah.
Yeah.
And so those are the ones I don't like. There have been a few good escape rooms that I have played, but most of the time they're sort of just on the they're okay. I'll refund this later sort of thing.
Ah.
But the
Right.
unwelcome is definitely the best bang for your buck because you get a lot of escape rooms, a lot of playtime. Unfortunately, there is no multiplayer, which I would love. And there's another VR escape room game that I played that had uh, multiplayer, but it only came with one free escape room, which took me about an hour to beat by myself.
Right.
But the other escape rooms, they're like $7 a piece,
So the one you
and there's
played,
like
how much
6 of them.
did it cost?
The one I played, the Unwelcomed,
Yeah.
that one was $7 for all of it.
Jeez.
Wow.
So
$1 a
pretty good
yeah,
room.
deal.
dollar.
And you
Yeah,
said
it's
you
pretty
wished
good.
you could play The Room, Darkwater, but you can't. Why is that?
Isn't that Oculus
I
exclusive?
can't afford it.
Oh, you can't afford it.
Uh,
How much is it?
I
Yeah, I
can't
think it's
afford
like
crap.
30
It's
$30 game. That's the one that I
Whew.
got last week,
These
and I
poor
will say
VR
though that it is
developers.
worth the money, especially the visuals. Like it's a
Mhm.
really really good game. But that was my first game ever playing that type, like the escape room. I've never played that kind before in VR. And it's really cool. So, but yeah, I want to play other ones like what you're talking about because I know there's a bunch of other ones on Steam to kind of get a comparison of the two.
Mm-hmm. Do you know
But
how
it's
many
Yeah,
looking
rooms
and
for
that
then
an
has?
escape room.
Go ahead.
and then there's also games like Nervosa, and those were like the first sort of VR escape room games. They're okay. Like they look nice, but they try to do this weird like throw in like a little action sort of thing in there. And that's the sort of things I don't like about VR escape rooms. They try and throw stuff at you
Mm-hmm.
whenever you should be able to
Yeah.
take your time, try and understand things. but then they'll throw like, oh, by the way, there's been a zombie behind you this entire time that's been chasing you.
Oh,
If you
jeez.
don't
Oh
escape the
no.
zombie, you die and you have to restart the past 45 minutes you've been trying to beat this room.
Oh
Yeah.
I mean, it
yeah,
kind of feels
that
like that
does
would
sound.
ruin that, and then like kills your
But the
motivation to do it again.
yeah, but the
Mhm.
Unwelcomed, it doesn't have any threats, no time limit. You can go at your own pace, which is all great,
Nice.
but it doesn't have multiplayer, and that's the one thing I don't like.
All right.
And there are little secrets to find, like little hidden teddy bears and stuff
Right.
all around the different
Well,
rooms.
you gotta have that in an escape room game. I feel like that's par for the course.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, moving on. Destiny, you played the forest. She played without us after saying
Yes.
she would play with us. I want to know, just on record.
I didn't know you already had it.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jay. I'm with you. All right, tell us
Yeah,
what
now
you
you
thought
gotta
of
get
it
it.
by yourself.
Okay, so hold on. Let me look up this description I have real quick going
You
off Steam
put a
because I
description?
know I'm gonna butcher it. Oh yeah. I made sure to screenshot the description so I can get it very accurate because it's such a weird game that like I would butcher trying to talk about
Oh, I
it.
see what you're
So let
saying.
me get
Yeah,
the
that makes
description,
sense.
and then I'll like go into the details. Okay, so the forest, for whoever hasn't heard of it, or if you haven't seen, like there's tons of really funny like clips from the game out there. But anyways, it's a lone survivor, or as the lone survivor of a passenger jet crash, you find yourself in a mysterious forest battling to stay alive against a society of cannibalistic mutants. Build, explore, survive in this terrifying first-person survival horror game. So basically, since I'm into horror games, like I've been wanting to try this one. This has been one of the ones at the top of my list for that drawing for a while, and I finally like looked into it in Steam, and it's only $19 to me. That's a really good price for a game,
Yeah.
especially one that has as much popularity as this one. So definitely went ahead and grabbed it and played it. But
Without us.
now we definitely have to play it. You too, Jay, everybody. Like it's so worth it. So the beginning's my favorite though. I almost wish you could just like repeat it. But you start out like in the plane, right? And you see some people in the seats and you don't really know what's going on. So of course I'm nosy and I was wondering like if I could get up and like see people. But then all of a sudden it starts just like shaking and going crazy. And what you're talking about with the roller coaster, that feeling, I haven't had that feeling in a while since I played a game like that. It really kind of like jars you and kind of makes you feel off balance, like it's crazy, but like in a fun way.
Okay,
And
that's
so
what
then
I
like
was about
you
to ask.
crash and you land. Yeah, like not in like a like it didn't make me sick, but it's a very weird feeling.
Yeah.
But then once you crash and you land, you're able to like pick up like start gathering like supplies and stuff, and then you can, if you're playing multiplayer, it, and for people who don't know, it is online multiplayer, so it was a huge selling point. It's a lot of fun that way. But anyways, you can go off and like go find your people, right? Well, as you're doing that, I'm sure there's a way to turn it off, but it does have like the, have you ever played a game where it has like the black like safety shield when you're walking
Mhm.
so
Oh
it doesn't
yeah,
make you sick?
Then
one of
yeah,
the
So
first things I turn off.
yeah, I'm
Right,
sure
yeah.
it has an option to turn it off, but lovely me, I decided to keep it. So be a little bit less sick. But
Mm.
so anyways, like you go to find your people and then like you can gather like these axes and just like all this crazy stuff. And I was just like chopping up and like hitting everything I could just to experiment. And so I mean I didn't get too crazy for it, but
We're gonna
I
play
mean
with Destiny, and the
I
horror part is just gonna be Destiny herself with her axes, just like looking at us a little funny, like, "Can I chop you?" Like Destiny.
She comes
exactly.
out
That's
with a
why I'm sure.
chainsaw.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like who these poor random players that I was playing with, I'm sure they hated me and wanted to kick me immediately because I did try to like stab one of them,
Oh my
and
goodness.
I wanted to see if it worked. And
This is a
but for some
familiar
reason the
thing,
audio.
isn't it, Jay? What
yeah,
does this
yeah.
Oh,
remind
I'm
me of?
yeah, it's totally me and Pavlov too. I don't know. I guess that's the fun thing of VR. Like you can be crazy, and
Yeah, you have a lot
the
more ability
audio.
to just mess around. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just goofing around. And but the audio like wasn't working. I don't know if it was something to do with like my PC settings or just my
Just
headset was
the
acting up at the
curse
time.
of decent audio that
Yeah,
plagues you and Adam.
exactly. Yes, the audio curse. So as I was, I was like doing all this crazy stuff. I don't really know what they were saying. I'm sure they were quite upset with me. And they're all like trying to gather like logs and they were playing for real. They were being like legit trying to like build a little home and stuff. And I was just having fun. But yeah, we definitely need a repeat where we all play and it's people I know and we
Uh-huh.
can hear each other because I think it would be so much more fun.
Right.
And I didn't even get to the scene where there's like caves and all this other crazy stuff.
Hmm.
So
How are the
yeah,
graphics?
it's worth it. The graphics are great. I mean, like from the videos I saw, the graphics aren't quite what I was expecting, but that might be because I'm on the link.
Oh, right.
But, aside from that, I was very impressed with it. I mean, there's almost nothing that I would change, and especially for the price
Hmm.
and considering it's multiplayer, definitely worth it.
Nice. I mean, it sounds pretty fun, and I've been also keeping my eye on this for a while. But I'm not typically into horror games. The the survival aspect, however, is something I'm
Yeah,
interested
it's
in.
so different. This is one of the few that are multiplayer, and it is so different. It's not like your typical, like, cheap scare type horror
Right.
games, and then also, like, with Five Nights at Freddy coming out today on Quest, I just figured, "Why not? We're just gonna make the entire week about scary games."
Hmm. Destiny, are you familiar with the games Rust or Daisy? That's
No,
what
I
it's
think I've heard of Rust, but not the other
Ah,
one.
damn. I was hoping you would know about those because then I'd ask you how they like sort of. Maybe you'll be able to answer this. Is this the sort of game where it's like you could just keep playing? There isn't really an end to the game. It's more just like a sandbox, or is it more of like
There
it's got a
was
campaign and you once you finish it, you're done with the game?
See, that I'm kinda wondering too, because like I said, I almost never do tutorials, I almost never read what I actually should be doing. I'm really bad about just jumping into games and, like, just kind of figuring it out. And so with Arizona Sunshine, obviously, you have, like, the very set, like, campaign and what you're doing.
Right.
With this game, other than the same intro, the rest, I don't know if there is an actual end to the game or if it's just kind of
Just
playing
play
as
as
you
long as you
go,
want,
like
just accumulating resources
yeah,
and yeah. Okay.
yeah,
There
exactly,
is
just
a
kinda
s-
surviving.
there is a story. There is an ending because I
There
have
is an
played it.
ending.
Okay.
Yes, I played the alpha whenever it was before pre-release,
Uh,
and it wasn't great. It wasn't great back then at all. I haven't played it since either. So what you're saying sounds a lot better than what I played.
right.
But yet,
Oh,
yes,
wow.
there is an ending, but it's one of those games that even after you beat it, it does go on forever.
Hmm.
Yeah, it did seem like it would take a while even if there is, like, a point to it, and then, I know because it mentioned that you can build a house, and that's kinda like your saving point.
Hmm.
If I don't know, I may have misread it, but just considering that there's, like, a saving point, I feel like, the game at least definitely lasts a while.
Right.
And again, especially for 19 bucks.
Yeah.
I remember when the game launched and people were saying it was kind of like Minecraft, but realistic, like real graphics, real building and stuff. So I think there's a huge sandbox element to it. But I think if you want to, you follow the story, and there is like probably a way off the island, I would imagine, is the ending. I don't know for sure. But I think you can also just build a huge mansion out of
Right.
logs if you want to and go crazy. Like you can have fun with it either way, which I like that. That sounds way up my alley. I've just been waiting for the right crowd to play with. And apparently Destiny was not that crowd because she jumped the gun. So I will never
Oh, yeah,
forgive you
if you
for
play with
this.
me, like, we're not gonna survive, like,
I'm gonna
it's gonna
lock you out of the
be
house. That's
Yeah.
pure
what we're gonna build the
chaos.
Yeah.
house. We're gonna lock you out of
I'm
it.
Go
hearing
Be
be with
out
the
there all night.
I'm
cannibals.
hearing her play style and the way she was playing. I'm like, Jay, do we just play without letting her know?
Yeah, it would be pure madness, it's
Hey
great.
guys, I saw you were playing, so I hopped in. They're like, oh no. Pulls out her knife.
Might
Yeah,
as
you're
well
like,
burn our
lock
houses
the
down
door.
now.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. You just wait. Oh, yes, and you have like in your left hand, you have a lighter and you can just walk around with it lit. So the entire time I had like fire and the hatchet
Oh
and yeah,
God.
it was great.
That you're such an agent of chaos.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Well, that sounds pretty
We're
fun.
doing this.
Hopefully, Adam will be feeling well enough this weekend. He's sick right now. Um, hopefully he'll be feeling well enough this weekend to play the forest, and we can even we've been trying to get this going for a while. We want to do like a good stream with all four of us playing a game. The last time we were able to do that proper was like Orbis VR, which was forever ago. Um, so yeah, let's try and do that.
Yeah, true.
All
That
right,
would be a lot of fun.
moving us on for our last section. Let's keep this one real brief, guys. We're already at an hour and 20 minutes. Hell, I'm half tempted to just yeah. You know what the I
We can do it quick.
we can do it quick. All right, we'll do it quick.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
We're at an
Okay.
hour and 20 already.
Let's do this. Make it happen.
We're going to talk about what's the most interesting use for VR outside of gaming. So gaming's the big thing we talk about. It's what the podcast is about. But like, there's so much more that VR is going to be beyond this. So for me personally, I kind of follow VR in the medical field and like what it can be used for that. So there's a lot of different
Isn't
things
your
there.
wife in the medical field, or was that?
Yeah, with nutrition.
Yeah.
But one interesting thing about her, she has terrible directional awareness. Like for some reason, her brain is programmed in such a way she has to like remember images of how to go somewhere. Like you couldn't tell her, she couldn't like make a map in her mind and think I'm here and I need to get here. Well, I could do it this way or this way or that way. She has to like follow the mental path that she's taken before and always take things the same path. So she's even found in VR gaming, it's been really helpful to her because she has to explore these environments and learn different ways. And it's actually seems to be helping her awareness of how to get from place to place doing that and push that.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's studies with that. There's studies with people with dementia being able to actually relive memories and be able to track things better. They're able to fix
Aw.
lazy eyes with kids because it's two separate monitors. So they can make games that actually exercise the muscles that need to, because the separate monitor will actually force their eye to work its way over and they can actually help. So like for me, seeing that it can be so much more than gaming, I think that's super cool. So that's kind of that's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
That is
That's probably one of the more common things I see. There's like really outside of gaming, I see VR used most often in two areas. One is the medical field, like being able to see like the inside of a body and perspectives you're not able to do in real life, even with a real body. You can like make things larger, you can move through it, and you can like zoom in, you can zoom out. A lot of really cool applications I've seen. And then the other thing is workplace training. So like if they're going to be, like if you're this probably isn't a great example, but if you're going to like go work on an oil rig, it's hard to train someone until they're on the oil rig. But this is all just pure conjecture here. But that sort of thing VR really can help with when you're like you don't know what it's going to be like, and being able to have at least just a visual 3D way to see what you're going to be working with and get an idea of how things are going to happen. Even if you're just pressing buttons to activate stuff, press button to activate lever, press button to start the shigababob. But like once you get like that visual 3D sense of like I do this and then I do this and then I do that. Apparently VR really gets some of that across. So even when you're in real life, yes, you now have to actually pull a lever and then you actually have to empty the shingamabob. You at least like you know what's coming in a way that is hard to get with just like watching a video or reading an instruction manual.
Yeah.
Yeah, it keeps your attention a lot more, and, I mean, it's like all kinds of businesses and companies are using it. I used to be the manager of a makeup store, and in our perfume department, like, a brand came out, and for our group training, they actually had a VR set, and we got to, do our training that way, and, I mean, that was years ago, and so it's pretty crazy exactly, what all they're using it for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the most common way that VR is being
Yeah, I think
used.
so.
Probably the most
Another
exciting.
thing is,
Oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry. Maybe like another thing I found recently is like with robotics, like kids learning how to
Huh.
put together little robots and stuff. There's a
Oh, in
free
VR.
game on Steam for VR, yeah, where you get to build a
Mm-hmm.
robot,
Yeah,
and it's almost like
That's
Lego
cool.
in a way,
yeah.
Yeah.
but
Probably a lot cheaper to
not.
buy a program than buy a lot of those kits that are like robots kits can like,
Yeah.
especially once you like
Right.
as an adult, when you like go back to like the kid section, you're like, I kind of want to see how much, like, I kind of want to buy a new Lego set. I just want to buy one. I had this recently, and I like look at all the prices. I'm like, how did my parents ever get me one of these?
Mhm.
No wonder I never got like
Yeah.
the Death Star and all the bigger Lego things. Like, oh wow, these things are expensive.
Right.
Um, so I definitely could see the application for that for kids when your kids want the hottest new things. Like, well, you know what? Just give them a digital version.
Yes.
You get this download.
Yes, and there's even just like that. It's merging the gaming and the learning. There was a game I played. I think it was an alpha. It was sent to me, and it was a like steampunk, cyberpunk game. But it was actually teaching you coding as you were doing these
Yes.
Oh
puzzles,
yeah.
and like that's cool too because it's kind of bridging both.
Mhm.
So I like that.
Yeah,
Right.
cool math games on steroids.
Actually cool. Math
Actually
games, not
cool.
the stupid ones
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
back in
I
the
want
day.
I
Those
want
were terrible.
VR Math Blaster,
Right.
please, and thank you.
No, it was terrible.
More like
Was
stupid
that the
math
one on like
games.
Super Nintendo?
Was it on it? I think it
Do
was
you know
just
which
a
one I'm talking
PC
about?
game, but I could be totally wrong.
There was one. It sounds very close to that, but it was on Super Nintendo, and yeah, it was.
I don't know, maybe.
Man, it was bad,
It might have been on Super Nintendo.
but fun, I guess.
I played it on my old parents' computer way back when. Anyway,
Nice.
any other VR applications before we wrap things up? Anything come to mind? All
I
right.
don't know, maybe painting.
Maybe painting.
Art,
Yeah,
sculptures.
there have been some pretty cool art things done in VR.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
trying that
You
next.
can definitely do some unique sort of like sculpting, and yeah, there's some cool stuff there. All right. With that, we will wrap up this podcast. Thank you for watching, everyone. It's been a fun one. Thanks again to Greg. Yeah, I'm done.
Oopsie.
Greg was ready to run off.
Yeah. All right, I'm done, guys.
Yeah, see ya.
Oopsie daisy.
Thank you so much to Greg who came here as our guest. Was there anything else you wanted to say, shout out, talk about before we go?
Where should people find you, Greg?
You can find me at youtube.com/c/hey it's Greg. You can find me on Twitter
Mm-hmm.
at NightGamerRex. No,
No,
it's a weird name.
Not what I was expecting.
Yeah, we don't talk about it. Old news, fake news.
Can't you change your Twitter
He's
handle?
moved on.
Huh?
You can change your Twitter handle now and like keep the same account.
What?
Yeah.
Your character had a strange lack
Did
of
you know
emotion
about this?
for how loud that
No.
yell was. I've
I
only
don't
had one
use
Twitter.
Twitter.
so
I get the
don't know.
feeling, listeners, that by the time this podcast is out, it won't be,
It'll be
that
different.
weird username Greg just said. It'll be something else. So if you want to find Greg, as he said, youtube.com/c/hey it's Greg, or we'll have links down in the description because it's YouTube and we do that stuff. And on the show notes there will also be a link that will be impossible to click on most podcast players because podcast players are dumb. Looking at you, Spotify. It's weird. On Spotify, the hyperlinks work on like the desktop version of Spotify, but on mobile, it, like nothing works. And the formatting's just all sorts
Oh,
of weird. Anyway,
Jeez.
rant over. As the producer's rant is over. So thanks for watching, guys. Check out Hey It's Greg. If you're not already part of the Discord community, join that. If you want the podcast a day early, as always, become a Patreon supporter. Also, we're planning next week, we're going to have an audience. And by an audience, I just mean silent people that are like in the background. You can like, I don't know, wave at the camera or just kind of chill. And I don't know if like some people have wanted to do this, so we decided to get it working. And we'd like to make it a little more interactive, but right now we're just in the testing phases. But if you want an assured spot at the audience, Right now we have a few enough amount of Patreon members that you've more or less guaranteed yourself a spot if you join. We only have the $5 a month section. If we do include an audience and we get enough Patreon supporters, we are going to have to bump up that as a membership benefit to like a higher tier, because otherwise if we have like, I don't know, let's get stupidly optimistic and say 1,000 people listening. We can't have 1,000 people in a VR room, so we'll have to bump it up to
No, that-
whatever has the least amount of people.
That's when you get a stage.
Yeah,
You get a
exactly.
stage, and
Yeah.
we're on the stage, and everybody
We'll
else
have
is
an
in the
arena.
audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
But anyway, so we've got some cool perks going that way. But honestly, the biggest thing I'd recommend is joining the Discord community. Lots of fun stuff there, guys. And if you're a listener, check out the YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, we are also on podcast platforms. And with that, that wraps up episode 10 of the Full Dive Gaming Podcast. Thanks for listening.
10. Wow.
Yeah, right?
Woo!
Crazy. Double digits.
All right.
Bye,
Yeah.
everybody.
Remember, there's lots of listeners, guys.
Bye.
You gotta be vocal. Say
Jazz hands.
jazz
Bye-bye.
hands don't
Have
work.
fun. Thank you for having me on.
Of course, Greg.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
See you all later.